So in a recent video, I mentioned the stove that I'm using here in my camper van. And from that little clip when I mentioned it, I talked kindly about the stove. And so since then, I've been getting a lot of questions, both as messages and emails, as to where you could find the stove. So I just want to make a video about kind of the backstory about this stove. I talked about the stove in an earlier video, and so if you saw that video, you'll know a little more of what I'm talking about here. But first off, I will tell you where you can find this stove if you're interested in it. But I would kind of suggest you may want to know the backstory of why I'm going to say I really don't suggest anybody buy this Sportsman stove. Anyway, so if you're not interested in the whole backstory of how I feel about the stove and why I bought the stove and why it's working well for me, you could ignore the rest of the video. Right now I'll tell you that you can find the stove on Home Depot's website. That's where I found it. So Home Depot doesn't carry this stove in store, but you can order it like I did and have it sent to a Home Depot of your choice. So that worked out really well for me. And in fact, this stove ended up being less than $25 with the tax. So it ended up being a great deal. Now, since then, someone has told me that they found it on Amazon.com. Well, I'm going to look and see if I can find that on Amazon. And if there is a link to it, I will put it down in the description of this video. I do have an Amazon affiliate link, although I do need to just explain a little bit about that too. Don't feel like you need to buy anything from my Amazon affiliate link. I don't make money off of that link. That link is just solely for all of you that are looking for some of the products that I use. In order to kind of help all of you, I started that Amazon affiliate link, not as a way to make money, but as just a way to help you research a little bit easier and faster. So I do have an Amazon affiliate link. I don't expect anybody to use it other than research. But by all means, if it's the best price on Amazon, go ahead and order it. You know, my point with Amazon is use it for research. If you find it to be a good price on Amazon, go ahead and buy it there. Like I said, I haven't had time to look for the stove yet, but as far as I know, at the time that I bought my stove, it was only available on Home Depot, so that's where I bought it, and it was actually a really good deal. I do believe it was on sale, and so that's why it ended up being less than $25. Anyway, so there's all that. But let's get into the kind of backstory of how I wound up with the stove and why I ultimately like the stove and have been using it all this time. Now, I made a video earlier about why I made the decision to move to the Sportsman stove, but I think a little bit got lost in translation here. And it's interesting from my point of view, and probably you're not going to actually have the same point of view unless you've read all the comments on that video. And also, if you've gotten all the emails and read all the emails that I have. So I just thought instead of sending you back to that video, I'll put a link to it right here if you're interested. But instead of just sending people back to that video and asking them to watch that video, I thought maybe I should explain things maybe a little bit differently. It seems like from the emails and the messages that I've received off of that video, it seems like everybody had a different take about what I was saying in that video. Some people thought that I was upset with the quality of my old stoves. I had a couple of Gas One stoves, and I think that the quality of them was good, really good, and I was really happy with them. The problem I had, though, with the Gas One stoves is they do have a proprietary propane regulator. So since that propane regulator is proprietary and I can only get it from one source, I didn't like that. In things wore out over time. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. And so I didn't want to have to keep going to Gas One and having something mailed to me when I needed a new regulator. Now, that ended up being a problem because I was using that regulator incorrectly. Gas One actually tells you how to use it. I was ignoring that and using it in a way that made it easier for me to use the stove. And that meant that I was ruining those regulators because I was using the regulator in a way that it wasn't designed for. It doesn't have anything to do with Gas One's quality when I'm using a product incorrectly. Now, I also got a lot of messages and emails from people saying that what they took away from that video was that propane is unsafe to use in a van. And I really didn't mean for that at all. In fact, I use propane here. In fact, I use a bulk propane tank. I use the little green bottles occasionally as a backup, like in the wintertime, like it is right now. I'll keep a bottle or two of the little green bottles around. But as a general rule, I don't buy those. They're expensive. And I find that the bulk propane tanks work for me. I know that makes a lot of people nervous. And so a lot of people are nervous about the idea of having propane, using propane, and keeping propane anywhere near their van. So when they saw that video, they said, oh, what Static must be saying is that you shouldn't have propane in your van. When the fact is, I use propane, and it's my fuel of choice for cooking because I also have a propane heater, which works really well. So for me, propane is kind of the best choice. And I've had very little problems with it. The only problem I've had is I've had a couple of propane lines burst. That is because, you know, if you have something sharp around a propane line and it's old and probably needs to be replaced, you probably should have replaced it and not put something sharp next to it. So, you know, I've done some stupid things with propane lines, had a couple of them burst. Hey, I'm still around. I'm still alive. Although I do have really good ventilation in my van, so don't get after me here. Things happen. So, and other people were taking away from that video that I was saying butane was unsafe to use. So it's just interesting to get all the different opinions from people on how they took what I was saying. All I was saying was I was using a product incorrectly. When I found out how to use it correctly, I decided that it wasn't the product for me. And so I went and found an alternative. My thing is that you got to set up your van to work for you. So if you're not comfortable using propane, you shouldn't use propane. If you're not comfortable having a stove inside your van, you shouldn't do it. It doesn't matter if 100 different people you ask are doing it. If you're not comfortable with it, you shouldn't do it. You should find something that works for you. So that's what I've done. I've found something that works for me that I'm comfortable with now. So this stove works for me because it fits in the very small space of my tiny van here, and also because it works off of a regular barbecue propane regulator. So this is a regulator that I can get at any hardware store anywhere across the country. I'm going to keep doing what I feel is best for me, even though I have gotten a lot of emails, and I'm telling you a lot, and a lot of messages too, telling me how unsafe it is for me to have a stove in my van. Hey, you know, if you feel it's unsafe, don't have a stove in your van. Like I said, I've been absolutely upfront about the little problems I've had. Yeah, I've had a few little problems. They haven't been bad. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I encourage all of you to keep doing what you're doing, and research what you're putting in your van. Make sure that it's the right thing. So I hope that kind of clears up a little bit about that video. I didn't realize that video was going to be taken in so many different ways. I just thought I was pointing out kind of the faults of something that a lot of us had been using in our vans. But yeah, I guess everybody's going to take something a different way depending on what you're naturally inclined to think. And so that's what we got, is we got a lot of differing opinions, and that's great. You know, it's great that we have choices that we can make for ourselves in our own home environments. So I thank you for watching this video. I thank you for not leaving me a bunch of crazy comments in the comment section. Hint, hint. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.